I'm going to be comparing the Blade franchise to the John Wick franchise. The reason for that is that in part one of this series, when I compared the Blade franchise to the Fantastic Four franchise, Blade 1, when I compared the John Wick franchise to the Indiana Jones franchise, John Wick 1. So now I'm going to pit Blade against John Wick. When you look at highest score for each franchise, oh man, this one's not actually close because none of the Blade movies are fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is just a huge shame. It makes no sense to me at all. The first Blade movie is the highest score of only 58%, whereas of John Wick, the lowest rated movie in the franchise still is an 86%. Highest score is 94% for part 4. Then, oh man, when you look at the lowest score, yikes, Blade Trinity only is a 24%. That's a lot lower than 86%. Then when you look at average, not even close. Blade is an average of 46. John Wick is an average of 89. And when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, it's not very big at all for John Wick. We're only talking about 8%, which is very impressive. Whereas with Blade, 34%. John Wick has won every round so far, and this one seems very obvious to me. It's not hard whatsoever to figure out which franchise is better. Yeah, John Wick's better. But, however, I will say, I think Blade 1 and 2 should be fresh from Rotten Tomatoes. That makes no sense to me when I try to think, well, what makes those movies bad? What are the problems with them? I have no clue. I think the stories are engaging, the acting is great, the action is memorable, it stands out, it's distinct because of a focus on hand-to-hand fight choreography. I think there's great world building in these movies, establishing this world of vampires. The pacing is really good. If I try to think, well, do either of these movies feel like they're either going too slow or too fast? I don't think they suffer from those issues. When I try to think, well, are there plot holes in these movies? Are there things that just, feel contrived or convenient? Are there moments where a character does something blatantly stupid? Are there lapses in logic? I don't think there are. So I just don't get it. What are the problems with these movies? What are critics seeing? Do they think these movies are tonally inconsistent for some reason? I don't think they are. I think that they do a good job of establishing the tone. So, like with TMNT 1990, this just makes no sense to me. Where I go, critics, what are you thinking? Did you even watch the same movie as the rest of us? At least the John Wick movies, the critics actually were fair to these movies. They've been really consistent so far. If John Wick Chapter 3 is your weakest movie, then the franchise is in a great place, because I would not say that all the other movies are great and part 3 sucks, or the other movies are great, part 3 is garbage. No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, yeah, John Wick Chapter 3 still has the action that I want from one of these movies. The action's still very well done. There's still really good acting. Visually, it still looks very good. But the story's not quite as interesting as the other movies. Gets a bit repetitive because it's a lot of John Wick going to a place, showing that he has this special item so that he can get a favor from another person. Does a lot of that. But I thought part 4 was a great movie, a great wrap-up to John Wick's story. I think it's interesting that when you compare the main character in the Equalizer movies to John Wick, you can just see the difference, where John Wick doesn't really interact much with people outside of this assassin underworld. He doesn't really interact much with normal people, and he doesn't really know how to be very pleasant or affable to other people. There's definitely more of a sadness to his character. Whereas you think about main guy in the Equalizer films, and we see actually that he is able to interact with other people. He can be pleasant, charming, affable when he's not using his skills in his serious mode. With John Wick, he loses his wife at the beginning of the first film, and then he has that one guy who's his friend in the first movie, played by Willem Dafoe. Then that guy's killed. He loses his dog. So then by the second film, yeah, he has a new dog, but he doesn't really have much to live for other than getting revenge on the bad guys. And by the end of part 2, he's running, trying to survive. By the time we get to the fourth film, the only thing John Wick has left is just getting out of this mess of trying to beat the high table. By the end of the fourth film, it seems pretty clear to me that John Wick is thinking, well, I don't want to keep going on. I have nothing left to live for, no reason left to keep going. And so he finally dies, seemingly, at the end of the fourth film. That did surprise me, to be honest, because from a business perspective, considering how critically and commercially successful all the movies have been, you would think the studio would be like, hey guys, how about you not kill off John Wick? How about you keep him alive so we can make more John Wick movies? They've all made money. We don't want this to end. But wow, looks like John Wick actually died at the end of the fourth film, which cuts off the possibility of making more movies that are directly about John Wick. Now, I'm really looking forward to the spin-off, to be honest, because on the movie front, so far, John Wick has kept the quality up, and so I'm hoping the spin-off will manage to keep the quality up as well. And also, man, is the pitch meeting rightfully points out in that first film, as soon as the bad guys kill off John Wick's dog, you hate them immediately. Just want to see John Wick kill them all. I love that part of the pitch meeting where the screenwriter guy is telling the producer guy, these bad guys break into John Wick's house, beat him up, and steal his car. Then the producer guy goes, as long as the dog is okay, and they kill his dog. And then the producer guy is like, okay, some people better die for that. Oh, don't you worry, sir, they will. That's the whole plot of the movie. John Wick's gonna kill people for an hour and a half because his dog was murdered? That's right. I'm absolutely okay with that, to be honest. You can't mess with dogs. No, sir, you can't. People like them much more than they like humans. Yeah, I totally get that, because my mom has 2 cats, Toby and Tabitha. We both live in an apartment complex. Her room is only a minute away from mine, so I still see the cats pretty often. If I saw someone be cruel to one of those cats, if I saw someone shoot Tabitha in the leg, I heard her whimpering in pain, saw her bleeding, oh, I'd be just pissed immediately. Even if someone didn't flat out kill one of my cats, even if they're just cruel to one of my cats, that would truly make me angry. So, it's a great way to elicit anger from the audience. Show the bad guys being cruel to an animal or killing an innocent animal. So, I think this one's pretty obvious. John Wick has kept the quality up, whereas everybody would agree that Blade Trinity is weaker than the first 2 Blade movies. Even if you personally enjoy Blade Trinity, you'd still agree that it's just not as good. And that'll wrap things up for this video.